I think these next few years, the obvious play has to be to buy companies that we can plug into our ecosystem. So ideally, if there was a canvas, art company, a neon sign company that's doing $2, $3, $4 million in revenue that has solid profits, instead of me trying to create a new brand and replicate that success, it makes more sense for me to go and buy them for 3 times their earnings and then just plug them into our ecosystem where we manage that company, grow that company, and scale it. The way we choose to differentiate ourselves is going to be different products. We don't plan to offer the same products that everyone has, super customized wall decor that pretty much no other POD company is providing. To pay for that warehouse, for example, we're spending $40,000 a month, man, on rent. And so like if there's not a certain volume of orders that's coming in every single month, we're losing money.
Right.
And so it's the same thing with like Tesla's gigafactories. Like they have to make sure that production is ongoing. And so one of the best ways to do that is to increase demand by cutting your prices, of course. So they would rather be busier, have their hands full with more volume and get less revenue per car that they sell. And it makes sense. Like it's totally viable. So I fully understand why he's doing it.
Wow. No,
Dude's on
that's so cool.
another dimension.
Yeah,
bro.
he's literally on a
Obviously.
whole other level.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna be $1 trillion company, or it already kind of is.
Insane.
But
It is, I think, right? Yeah, it's
yeah,
crazy, man.
wow. So can I ask you this then, just as a personal question? It's
Sure.
you have a lot of things on your plate. What does your day to day usually look like? Like, what's your routine like?
Yeah, and I think at this point, like, I think I give the most value with coming up with like ideas for the brands, the new products that we launch. So me and one of my co-founders, Adib, we really work a lot more on the e-commerce side of the business. And so coming up with like high level advertising strategies, new products, planning for Q4, like we've already finished our planning last month and we know exactly how we're gonna tackle Q4, November, December, all the way through. So I think like day to day wise, man, more than anything, we're just working with team members, like each different department. So I'm spending time with, our marketing department. I'm spending time with product development. I'm spending time with, management just in general, making sure that they're looking at everything correctly. P&Ls, super important for each brand, looking at making sure that, they're profitable day in and day out. And if they're not, making sure we're cutting costs, overhead. And so that really is it more than anything, man. It's making sure you're there for your team and that you can help them succeed, because I genuinely think that as an entrepreneur, like that's your number one role. Once you've built a large enough company, it's just to empower everyone around you to do incredible work. The best way you can do that is by showing them that, hey, you work for them.
Right.
You're here to support them in any way and help them scale up. So yeah,
That's
that's the
powerful.
day to day.
That's really powerful. Do you ever think in the future you'll hire like a CEO in your place, or do you like what's the future look like for you, do you think?
For sure. That is a great question. And so one thing I'll say that we've been struggling with, right? And I like being transparent, is launching like new brands. I feel like, you think the longer you do it, the better you get at it. And you do, like, what boxes to check, what mistakes not to make. But e-commerce is, it's competitive, man. And it's difficult. Paid acquisition costs have gone up so much that I think launching completely new brands for us has gotten harder and harder. And it's gotten to a point where we're like, hey, well, we have all this capital. Why do we need to build our e-commerce division by just launching new things that 9 times out of 10 are going to fail? Instead, the predictable way to grow is to acquire companies. And so for us, I think these next few years, the obvious play has to be to buy companies that we can plug into our ecosystem. So ideally, if there was a canvas, art company, a neon sign company that's doing $2, $3, $4 million in revenue that has solid profits, instead of me trying to create a new brand and replicate that success, it makes more sense for me to go and buy them for 3 times their earnings and then just plug them into our ecosystem where we manage that company, grow that company, and scale it. So that's what I think the next few years looks like. I think at some point we're going to have to hire, like, probably not CEOs for our brands, but brand managers, essentially people that are going to be fully responsible for each individual brand, as long as the brand is doing a certain amount of revenue and profits where it makes sense to do so.
Right.
And on the flip side, for manufacturing, I think technology is going to be our big play. We're currently building out like our own app, like Printful, Printify, and so the way we choose to differentiate ourselves is going to be different products. We don't plan to offer the same products that everyone has. Super customized wall decor that pretty much no other POD company is providing. So between those two, hopefully the next 3 years look really good. But who's to say it will? But we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, I mean, that sounds great. I think you have a huge competitive advantage in that, and obviously you're here right now, so we're going to be reaching more and more people that are building e-commerce businesses and like that may think about a potential product and come to you. So like I think that's a really smart move.